Hello, today I'm going to talk to you all about my capstone project I've been working on this semester. First, I asked myself what is really important to me as an educator, and I decided that I was going to combine two of my biggest passions, which are education and community. I decided on this focus question. Is it important to foster a child's sense of self within their community? And then I set out to research that focus. I found that the benefits of developing a child's sense of self within their community include improvement of social skills and interactions, their overall well being and health, as well as combating several COVID-19 pandemic related stressors that were newly introduced over the last couple of years, which include loneliness, isolation, and an increased use of one way technology and media. The ultimate goal of creating this sense of self within their community is to eventually create adult community members who value action-based contributions. And I think the bigger piece of that is that they really have an internal motivation to contribute to their community. So what did I do? I decided to create a unit of study that was all about community. I had several ideas about this, but as I think you all know at this point, I ended up needing foot surgery, which was a little bit of a surprise and threw a little bit of a kink in some of the plans that I initially had. So we really had to pivot at the beginning. And I'm very lucky that I work with colleagues that were willing to be flexible and support my ideas. So I decided in this to focus on a few key targets with the students, including defining what is a community, as well as what are different types of communities and different types of communities that they belong to. We talked a lot about community helpers, who they are, what they do. And then the personal question that was posed to all of them was, how do I fit into my community? Because I really wanted to stress to them that even as young children, they still can contribute to their community and they are also important members of our community. So in doing this, I combined virtual lessons that I did with them through Google Meets because I have literally been home on the couch for almost 6 weeks now, as well as created a community website, which these are the pictures, a couple screenshots on the page that you can see. And I will include in the post a link so if you would like to go and explore the website yourself, you can. I basically spent hours and hours researching kid-friendly resources that would teach them about community, including books, videos, articles, as well as things more specific to our community. The other big piece of this for me was that I really wanted to provide a way for them, the students, to create personal connections to our local resources, because that's how we're going to eventually meet that ultimate goal that we talked about on the last slide of these adult community minded individuals. So that leads me to the real culminating activity that we did, which was a community connections fair that I organized and hosted in person. So over the next few slides, I'm going to have some pictures and descriptions of the individuals that joined us, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about the fair. We were very fortunate to have over 20 individuals come to represent the community, which exceeded my expectations, honestly. We had several town and school officials, as well as individuals that represented town departments and other aspects of like town municipalities. We also had some business owners and several nonprofits that were able to come to really give a very wide variety of community helpers that are local to us. So they all came to school on Friday, April 29th, for an hour. The students each had a worksheet that I had created that allowed them to take notes while they went around in a fair, like a career day style event, and interviewed the individuals that came. Um, they did an amazing job. We were very proud of them. Um, and it was a great way to connect for both the adults that came as well as the students. And I think, again, it's worth noting none of us had done anything like this for over 2 years because of COVID. So it was the first time for these individuals to be able to come back in to a school and interact with young children and students, as well as maybe the first time, these are third graders, so maybe the first time that they were able to do anything like this, honestly. So, more importantly, what have I learned in this process? I broke it down into a couple of key things. First of all, technology. A lot of my time ended up being spent on technology. This was kind of my setup over the last several weeks. I have explored a lot of new technology to me because I have been creating slideshows for the students. I've been using Google Meets. I created the Google site for the kids. And did I make any fatal mistakes? Yep, you bet I did. I created the website the first time in my personal email account, which is Google, and I learned that schools and workplace Google accounts do not allow you to transfer ownership. So there was no way for me to transfer ownership to my school account, which is how I would be able to post it for the kids to interact with it. So I had to recreate the entire website from scratch in my school account, which you live and learn, right? I had a lot of collaboration virtually with students, with colleagues, and with community members because I organized everybody that came for the fair. And I think, especially in this day and age, we still are seeing a lot of that. We don't necessarily have meetings in person in school. We still are doing things separately. And I don't think this is a technology that's going away. So it was really great practice for what's to come for me, as well as researching and compiling child friendly, equitable resources. It was really important for me to make sure that all types of students saw themselves represented, as well as just making sure that the resources that I provided for them were actually appropriate for third grade students, which is tricky. I created a lot of materials, which goes hand in hand with my last point of accessibility. Um, it was also very important to me to make sure that everything was really accessible for students. So I created a scavenger hunt, for example, um, on like a Google um, form that the students used as a engagement activity with the website. And I voice recorded over all of the questions. I provided a way for them to voice record their answers if they wanted to make sure that that was really accessible for all students, including the ones who maybe don't know how to read that much yet or wouldn't be able to type back to me and answer and submit. So, getting really creative in the materials that I found and the materials that I made, so that it was really accessible for everybody. This is a huge component of what I will be doing in the future. And I was so happy to have the opportunity to really practice it. Next is a big piece, which is conflict resolution. Um, a brief example that I will give: at our fair, we had one visitor who was very uncomfortable with the police officers and the presence that they had. They were allowing students to try on their equipment as well as showing them, like letting them try the handcuffs on. And this other person was really uncomfortable with it. Um, and in conflict resolution is something that educators have to do every single day. And sometimes it's a very small thing, but other times it's a really large issue. And this was a big issue. This was there were a lot of layers to it that I won't get into, but I had to use on the spot quick thinking, which is something, again, educators have to use every single day. It also provided the space for a potentially difficult conversation around, our BIPOC students and their comfort levels with certain individuals. It allowed me to again practice going through the motion of conflict resolution skills, including creating a follow up plan. We reflected with the students after the fair. After school, the staff debriefed about the situation, and then we followed up with a check in to the families so that they could also um, continue that conversation at home. And that is a great outline for something, again, that I know I will be doing. So this was unexpected, but it was there. We also were just notified that we had a COVID exposure at the event. And so I had to do a lot of follow up with all of these individuals that came, as well as with school. And so this is something, again, that isn't going away, and it's all just good practice for me. My last area was personal growth. I feel I had a lot of personal growth throughout the semester with throughout this process, including tapping into different types of creativity, learning a lot about being flexible between my personal challenges that I had this semester, as well as just some obstacles with school. Flexibility is key in education. I learned how to be a chameleon, be really adaptable, and work with the situation that you're in, as well as being patient and a lot of stress management, which I think is a fairly new concept in schools, but we're starting to hear a little bit more about. And I think it's important not to forget that educators' stress management is hugely important for the management of stress in our students and kids as well. And I think overall, it just made me a more confident educator. I feel energized and excited for the future. And I feel really proud of what I accomplished in this capstone. And I know that, especially based on the feedback that I received, that it was a very well received event. People were really impressed at school, as well as our community members, and our kids were so excited too. So I feel like it validated the direction that I was headed in. And I just wanted to share that I have officially been hired. I received my contract, and I am going to be teaching as an elementary special educator. I am switching elementary schools, but in my picture there, I'm wearing my new spirit wear for my new school, and I am very, very excited. So this has been a wonderful semester. It was great to work with you all, and I hope you all have amazing future endeavors headed your way.